Honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think everybody.
If he offers it to me or other members of the committee, I think I would accept it.
I don't think pardons are necessary.
We are joined now for this big debate over Trump proofing the DOJ and revenge plans with pardons by some real legal heavy hitters. Paul Rosenzweig is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary at DHS. And looking at this plan, he has an Atlantic piece saying Biden should pardon Trump's critics now. We're also joined by former federal prosecutor Frank Bowman. He's writing a book about the pardon power and argues the other side, writing the case against Biden pardoning everyone on Trump's enemies list, piece for Slate. Welcome to both of you. You guys are lawyers, so I'm sure you're going to love debating.
For sure.
We're also
For sure.
good friends, so it's not going to be too tough a debate. So
good. Paul, your opening statement.
Pardoning Trump's critics would be a completely unusual and different use of the pardon power. But it's time, I think, to think about whether or not existing authorities need to be applied in new and different ways because Trump is a new and different threat. Right? Trump has already abused the pardon power immensely in his first term, pardoning Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, the whole 9 yards, Steve Bannon of his acolytes. Now he's threatening to throw the entire weight of the Department of Justice and the FBI behind investigations of people who, by any measure, are utterly innocent of any wrongdoing. Now, one answer to that is, well, that's okay. Then the court system will make it fine in the end, and they'll come out at the end of the day with an acquittal. But as anybody who's ever been a prosecutor or been under investigation knows, the costs of the investigation itself are immense in terms of time, money, mental stress on you and your families.
And let's be clear, I'll jump in on that evidentiary point. Regular citizens, someone who was number 5 or 10 in the Jack Smith probe, if they are targeted, it's bankrupting. I mean, there's no money to do a multi-year real case when you have the federal government going at you.
So I guess I would end my opening statement this way. It seems to me that faced with the unusual authoritarian impulse that Donald Trump has given voice to, that has been made more clear by his promises to appoint Kash Patel as FBI director and Pam Bondi, an election denier, as DOJ attorney general.
Yeah.
It's at least incumbent upon Biden morally and ethically to protect those who are at risk because they were on his side.
Right, and that goes to the immunity argument. I'm not saying this is an
ideal solution.
Right, not ideal. Frank, it's the holiday season. I'm going to get more lawyerly than usual. I'm going to say arguendo, okay? Arguendo. For the sake of argument, let's stipulate that you care about the rule of law, oppose attacks on democracy, all the rest. Let's clear that out and say you care about all that, but this is a bad idea. Why?
it's a bad idea because, first of all, it does create a terrible precedent, and I think we should not necessarily, as Paul suggests the contrary, I don't think we should necessarily do unprecedented things as president to anticipate unprecedented bad things that Trump might do. The precedent it creates is essentially the threat of creating in the future what we call a regime of impunity, essentially a situation where for all future administrations, the practice becomes we simply preemptively pardon everybody who worked for us, whether they did anything bad or not. And that creates an expectation among one's presidential employees that you can do pretty much any darn thing you want to, any awful
Let me
thing.
jump in to tease out your point. When Paul says, well, Trump term one already pardoned a bunch of political folks, your response here right now is, yes, but it could have been hundreds or thousands, and then you have no deterrent law enforcement effect on federal officials. Is that your argument?
I think that's one argument. I think the more important thing is Paul and I definitely agree that what Trump is offering to do here, and Kash Patel's offering to do, is unprecedented and it's ghastly. Got it. The problem is that pardons don't solve your problem. They don't solve your problem for a number of reasons. First, who are you going to pardon? Just the people on Kash Patel's enemy list. You pardon the people on the January 6th committee. The list of people who could be attacked by the Justice Department is almost endless.
But that's a very lawyerly argument, Frank. I'm going to say it. No offense. It's extremely lawyerly because you could be over-inclusive. You could pardon 300 people, and they're still going to bother other people. But your point would be there should be a type of pardon-based immunity for, say, anyone who investigated Jan 6, given that it was a national security event and they want to turn it around. What do you say to that?
Well, if you're talking about January the 6th, I mean, the people, for example, let's take an example of the problem. You've got Trump saying, and you had him recorded as saying, okay, all the members of the January 6th committee should be prosecuted. They should be in jail. Okay, that's a horrible thing to say. First of all, those people are in no real risk because they have protection already under the speech and debate clause. But let's assume we pardon them as some sort of preemptive protection. Well, what about all the people who worked on the committee? What about all the witnesses? How big does your list have to be in order to cover the folks you need to cover?
Paul?
Well, I mean, Frank's right that at some point you've got to draw a line. But I think the response is you've got to draw a line. But the fact is that Trump is the one who's forcing us to do the drawing. For myself, if I had to put names on the list, I'd put Liz Cheney, Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, the highlights of the highlights, who are guaranteed to be in his sights and in Kash Patel's sights. Can we do the staff on the committee? Of course we could. But the fact that there might be some people who aren't protected by this doesn't mean that you shouldn't make an effort to at least provide what protection you can to the people who you reasonably think might be the most within the ambit of his threat.
Let me move it back to Frank.
They can say no.
All right, so I got to moderate. It's three lawyers. Moving off the practicality, Frank, what is the other argument? You mentioned precedent and just sort of the larger, almost scale of U.S. governance beyond the practical concern you mentioned.
Well, the other thing I want to mention really is a practical one, and it goes back, frankly, to all the reporting that you did at the top of the hour. What is the point, do you think, of Trump's threats, of Patel's threats? Well, A, it's to state Trump's thirst for revenge. B, it's to provide, some material for the right-wing media. But the real point of it is to create intimidation. It's to create fear. It's to modify people's behavior. Okay. You don't need the Department of Justice or the criminal justice process to do that. If our whole argument here, our discussion is premised on the notion that Trump is going to misuse the law in every way he conceivably can think of doing so. And you led this story with infinite number of circumstances of uses of federal power and law that aren't criminal at all,
now
but are going to be quite effective.
I'm rolling over on time. Paul, you get a mini closed. 2 sentences, sorry.
Save who you can when you can. Frank's right that I can't stop state criminal prosecutions or civil suits, but what we can do is protect the people who deserve it, morally and ethically.